Make sure to like and subscribe. House Podcast is back. Still in the off season, but we're getting close. I guess it's about 6 weeks here to the first game. But we got a great first time guest, David Talks Bucks. Going to talk some Colorado Buffaloes. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. How are we doing today, David?
I'm doing great, Trey. Thanks for having me on. Can't wait to talk about Colorado. Fall camp's not too far away, so I'm ready for it, man. Thanks again.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you giving some time today. We connected on the College Huddle. Definitely check those out. Website will be in the description. Great community there. First off, got to jump right in. Coach Prime, because he's a huge focus in the sport. You guys 16 and 21. I'm sure you heard the number. Coach Prime coming into, is his fourth season?
Yeah, this will be his fourth.
Fourth season, I believe 3-9 last year. What's the pulse from Buffs Nation? What do you think about it? Do you like him being there? Has he been? I know you guys had a couple years ago, but just what's the pulse with Colorado?
Yeah, overall, even though the season last year was definitely a disaster, happy to have Coach Prime here. And I think that kind of how most fans, I think, would think about this is, this is a big season where you want to see a bounce back. You want to see something built. A lot of people forget, Coach Prime wasn't one of these head coaches that has worked his way up from, the Division II over the course of 20 years, starting as an assistant coach. So I think maybe there's been a little bit more learning on the job than maybe some of us anticipated. But overall, it's been a huge net positive for the program. You guys can check out some of my videos if you want to learn more about just like structurally how things have changed with CU since Prime has been here. It's been substantial. But yeah, this is a year in which, hey, a lot of strategy has changed. The whole NFL coaches thing, that's out of here. I really love our assistant hires. There's been a different focus in how they're recruiting the transfer portal and in high school. And so I think a lot of us, we're expecting this team to be a bowl team, get to 6 wins. Anything else on top of that is gravy. And I think that's doable within the Big 12. Now, if we don't accomplish that, hey, there's going to be some tough conversations to be had. But I always felt as if Prime would coach out his contract here at CU, and that's kind of how I feel right now. Some disasters would absolutely have to happen for him to leave here. There's a lot of job security at CU.
Okay, yeah, can definitely see that. Polarizing figure, definitely. And the way I see it, maybe coming over here from SEC country, is do you kind of see him? You're kind of in the weeds there. We always kind of see him, from what I've said, is he's a great general manager, face of the program. First off, legendary DB back in the day with NFL. But is he like X's and O's, going to out-coach you in close games? Is he going to beat you that way, or is he going to kind of use his coaches? So that's why we kind of see him as more general manager, talent evaluator, but X's and O's guru, we don't. Am I wrong on that?
No, that's definitely right. He's, I guess, your typical, well, if he was a Hall of Famer, CEO type head coach. And that's what makes hiring his coordinators and assistant coaches so important. And I think that when we've seen, hey, if you don't necessarily recruit elite talent, Travis Hunter, obviously Shador was going to come with him and some of those other guys, you're really, really stressing hitting offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator hires correctly. And Trey, it's, as a Broncos fan and a Colorado Buffaloes fan, to have Pat Shurmur be calling my team's offenses for 4.5 years combined, I don't wish that on anybody. And I think that after this season, this past season, we saw that, man, the right coaching staff to develop the talent and the strategy there, it wasn't there. And so everybody got fired or let go. That was awesome to see. I won't sugarcoat it. I'm so glad Pat Shurmur's out of here, and you finally have a guy in Brennan Marion who has his own offensive scheme that has had success everywhere he's he's gone and called plays. So you got a guy that obviously has a very strong relationship now with Julian Lewis and believes in him. And on the flip side, I think we upgraded with Chris Marv as defensive coordinator as well. Robert Livingston did have a good year in 2024 with the Buffs and our defense, but again, failed to kind of develop talent after some of the big transfers that were brought in left, and failed to adjust his scheme quite a bit to where, we had like the worst defense in the Big 12 last year, like us in Oklahoma State. So he went off in a more assistant role to the Broncos, where I feel like he's just better suited for the NFL game, being a long-term assistant with the Cincinnati Bengals. But Chris Marv has done good things with Virginia Tech as defensive coordinator. You might say, well, Dave, he was never elite. God, man, come on. He had Virginia Tech ranked in the 50s for national defense. Guys, we would kill to be at that stage right now. So the other thing that I think Coach Prime has done well is getting guys who have the energy to coach college. I think some of the assistants that we've had, Pat Shurmur, Warren Sapp included, while they were exciting hires at first, they kind of screamed kind of post-retirement gig, and the coordinators, including the assistants that they've brought in, these are guys with their coaching careers ahead of them. So they're hungry, they're chopping at the bit. And I think that that's made a big impact in how they've recruited the transfer portal and why you've seen so much success. 20 commits right now under Prime for the class of 2027 for high school. That has not happened at all, but it goes to show the unity, the cohesiveness of the message and direction that they're taking the program, and that's resonating with people.
Yeah, I think that's really impressive. You're getting hungry coaches, and you got to go almost old school, go back on the recruiting trail, and also got to use the transfer portal. That's what Kirby still does at Georgia, even though we are struggling in our recruiting class. We're probably going to take a little bit of a step back. I think it's NIL. Don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I think we're around number 17 commits. Hopefully Kirby can get it going. He's always elite, but he's still doing that recruiting, developing, use the transfer portal when you can. But we'll see. The other one I wanted to ask is Julian JuJu Lewis, even though Georgia flirted with him, recruiting him, you guys got him. I know he said some interesting comments recently. Everybody was talking about it, media days. What's your thoughts on that? Or was he just going from the hip or what?
Yeah, I think, again, a lot of people got to remember, man, Julian Lewis, he skipped his senior year in high school. So he's now going in as an 18-year-old redshirt freshman. And some of this he'll learn just becoming more media savvy. I think that if anybody's taking his comments maybe at face value, you can take them out of context a little bit, where he said, man, I wasn't really reading defenses last year. Number one of my biggest issues with the team last year is, again, Pat Shurmur. Yeah, I think some of this does fall on Pat Shurmur. If he was that good of a coordinator, man, I think you would have had Julian Lewis in a place to where he wasn't sitting behind Caden Salter throughout that season. That benching probably should have happened, again, in retrospect, around week 3 or week 4. But, Julian didn't really have the structure put in place to succeed, in my opinion, from a coaching perspective. A lot of people forget it's kind of a big deal when your coach has cancer. All right. Yeah. So Coach Prime, he wasn't there very often. And you're then relying on Pat Shurmur and Robert Livingston, who, especially Pat Shurmur, has never really lit up a room, right? Even though he's been a head coach in the NFL before, it just wasn't the right fit. So some of this is, you've heard college players come out and say, it was like drinking from a fire hydrant the first time I got on the field playing quarterback, as a true freshman or a redshirt freshman. I think, man, he was just talking about how different the game is, and then now has been talking about how much more comfortable he is going into year 2, how much he loves Brennan Marion's go-go offense, how he's learning to become better pre-snap. Like all these things are normal stuff you hear like as a freshman. So I don't think like there's anything malicious about it. Nothing that I've ever heard would ever go on to suggest that Julian Lewis does not have incredible work ethic. So I think he's in for a good year this year with the Big 12, but I think it does say something a little bit, when, hey, you're going to say, man, I wasn't reading defenses like that last year. I'll blame Pat Shurmur, a little bit too on that.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you thought about it.
I thought it was, interesting. It might have just been like you mentioned, young college kid just kind of shooting from the hip, and he was just kind of talking. And like I said, it could have been a bad coordinator. I mean, these OCs go revolving door, so just maybe not a good fit. And the guy wasn't doing, or Julian Lewis wasn't doing his research the way he could. And bring a guru in can change things. So he's young; he can learn. The talent's there coming from Carrollton, which is a big high school in Georgia. Georgia was after him. We'd have loved to have gotten him. So I think he's a great talent.
Yeah. And I think Georgia Tech was also going after him. And so it's going to be fun, the fact that we get to face off again week 1 in Atlanta. I think that he's got a lot to prove, and he's got the chance to do it in front of a lot of his, friends and family.
Yeah. And then looking at his numbers from last year, hey, he hadn't thrown a pick yet, so that's pretty good. 4 touchdowns, 589 yards. So there you go. And what's some realistic expectations maybe you're looking for from him, coming from him?
Yeah, I think, man, this might seem a little lofty. I do think, more on the high end of his ceiling this year. I think he can be a 3,000-yard passer in this offense. I mean, the Big 12 is not necessarily, stacked with, big-time defensive, strongholds throughout the conference or anything like that. I think that he's going to have, in my opinion, the best offensive line he's had, or since Coach Prime's been here, that he's had. I think no doubt about it. You have a coordinator that can really call plays and scheme with today's modern, college game. And, there was an Athletic article that dropped today where Brennan Marion was interviewed and, talking about how, like, hey, in terms of the 2022 Texas team that finished second in the Big 12, like this offensive line, he felt like it was better than what Texas had then. He feels like the wide receiver group is on par. Says that there's 4 or 5 guys right now on the roster with NFL potential. And in the Big 12, it's going to be wide open. Who cares about what the Vegas lines are? You got teams that are always predicted to finish, close to the bottom, ending up surprising. You had some of the favorites like Kansas State absolutely crap in the bed last year. So it's a wide open conference. But I think Julian, one thing that I'm going to be looking for him to do is raise his completion percentage quite a bit. I think he was around like 58 or somewhere in the 50s. Maybe it was like 56. But Brennan Marion's going to give him a lot more like easy, like layups. And he talked about that at Big 12 Media Day. Like sometimes it's just getting the ball out of your hand quickly to the playmakers and allowing them to make plays. This offense should suit his game, his decision-making, his processor, that he showed so often at Carrollton. So I'll say anywhere from 25 to 3,000 yards. I think that he can do it this year.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It's got a lot of potential.